You may have heard of Japan's Aokigahara Forest, where people go to commit suicide, or the USA's Golden Gate Bridge, where people jump to end their lives. In Singapore, there is also a lesser-known suicide hotspot, Bedok Reservoir. However, in this video, I will explore the idea that the so-called suicides in Bedok Reservoir may have a supernatural origin. I will share a true story of an encounter with a mermaid in this location and how her subsequent death may be a significant factor contributing to Bedok Reservoir's unsavory reputation. In 2017, a group of friends and I conducted a paranormal investigation in Bedok Reservoir and the surrounding flats. I will reveal the results of that investigation as well. Let's begin with the suicides in the reservoir. Before dismissing these deaths as having reasonable explanations, consider the following. From June 2011 until the end of that year, 6 suicides were discovered, occurring at a rate of approximately 1 per month. Even the typically secular Singapore government requested blessings from religious leaders of 8 major faiths for the area. Ironically, on the day of the blessing, they discovered the 6th body. Despite the blessings, suicides have continued, with the most recent occurring in May 2021. According to local legend, these suicides may be linked to a woman who drowned in Bedok Reservoir and is said to haunt the area. People claim to have seen her apparitions, heard cries for help, or felt her presence. In Chinese mythology, there is a belief that those who die by drowning seek a substitute to drown in their stead, ensuring their release. It is said that when a person drowns, their soul becomes trapped in a state of limbo due to unfulfilled destiny. To complete their journey in the afterlife, they must find someone else to take their place in death. However, if you stay until the end of the video, I will provide a possible alternative explanation. There have also been reports of people suffering severe cuts on their feet after falling into the water from their kayaks. Officially, these injuries are attributed to illegally released fish in the reservoir. However, this explanation seems unconvincing to me. The other possibility for these phenomena is that the reservoir is cursed, and this hypothesis is based on a story I heard during a date, a story so incredible that only I would believe it. So please indulge me and pretend to believe it, at least for now. I had my first meeting with this pretty Indian lady at Bedok Reservoir. We chose that location because she lived in the area. You might wonder why I mention her appearance. Well, it's not to prove that an attractive girl actually agreed to meet me or to showcase my taste in women. The reason will become clear as I delve into the story. Due to my keen interest in the paranormal, she confided in me a story passed down from her father and paternal grandmother. Her family has resided in the area for a long time. Back in the 1960s, Bedok Reservoir was different from what it is today. It was directly linked to the sea. Her father, an avid fisherman, would often visit Bedok Reservoir to fish on his days off. One day, accompanied by his mother, my date's grandmother, they set out for a fishing trip. On their way to their usual fishing spot, they spotted a woman sitting on a rock near the reservoir. To their astonishment, as they got closer, they realized that the lady was a mermaid. It turned out that during that time, others had also reported sightings of the same mermaid in the vicinity of the reservoir. However, every time someone tried to approach her, the mermaid would swiftly escape by diving into the reservoir. Now, remember what I mentioned about my date being a pretty Indian lady? Well, she inherited her good looks from her father, who at the time was a young and handsome man. When the mermaid saw him, instead of fleeing, she seemed captivated and hesitant. Taking advantage of the moment, my date's father attempted to get closer and managed to grab hold of the mermaid, trying to prevent her escape. I can't explain his motivations, but my guess is that he saw it as a rare opportunity to capture a mythical creature. At this point, something strange occurred. The mermaid panicked as she realized what was happening and suddenly died in his arms. It seemed as if she had the ability to instantaneously separate her spirit from her body. Unsure of what to do, my date's father returned the lifeless body to the reservoir. You might think this is an incredible fabricated story. However, my date shared 2 things with me that gave me pause before reaching that conclusion. Firstly, her grandmother also witnessed the event and confirmed that her father's account of the mermaid was true. Secondly, both her father and grandmother have since passed away, and until their deaths, they insisted that the story was genuine. They didn't gain any financial gain or fame from fabricating this tale, so there was no apparent reason for them to invent such a story. As a side note, if only my date's father hadn't taken any action, perhaps Singapore wouldn't have needed to create the merlion as a tourist icon. They could have used a real mermaid as their attraction. But that's not the end of the story from my date. She proceeded to tell me another tale about Bedok Reservoir. It appears that there is a species of rainbow-colored fish commonly found in the reservoir. One day, as she passed by the coffee shop where she usually eats, she noticed a tank containing these fishes. When she inquired, the owner of the coffee shop informed her that the fish were caught in the reservoir, and he was using them to prepare and sell dishes to customers. A few days later, she came across a newspaper article stating that someone had been hospitalized due to food poisoning, and the contaminated food was sold at the same coffee shop. When she next met the coffee shop owner, he simply shook his head and claimed that the fish were cursed. He believed that those who consumed them experienced various ailments afterward. Please stay tuned until the end of this video, where I will attempt to make sense of it all. Now let's move on to our endeavors to conduct a paranormal investigation at Bedok Reservoir. One aspect of our investigation took place in an area not directly linked to the drownings. On June 21, 2017, an elderly couple in their late 70s was discovered murdered in their flat near Bedok Reservoir. In July 2017, we conducted our investigation at Block 717, Bedok Reservoir Road, where the couple resided. During our investigation, we sensed a presence there, likely that of the murdered couple. When we utilized our EMF meters, we detected an unnatural spike in the area. Interestingly, when we subsequently visited Bedok Reservoir, we coincidentally witnessed a Taoist master performing rituals. As we captured a photograph of him and reviewed it, my friend remarked that his face seemed non-human, resembling that of a fish. Could he have been possessed by a fish deity or some form of negative entity present in the vicinity of the reservoir? It's time to summarize everything and share my final thoughts on Bedok Reservoir. One perspective, after watching this entire video, is to assert that these are all separate incidents with no connections at all. And you may be correct. However, another way to contemplate the situation is considering the mermaid as a water elemental. I will delve into the concept of elementals in a future video, but briefly, water elementals serve as protectors of bodies of water. Could it be possible that when my date's father caused the mermaid's death, a positive counteracting force was no longer present? Subsequently, the reservoir began to attract darker entities that not only caused drownings in the area but also intensified negative thoughts in individuals, making them more prone to suicide. The drowned spirits, trapped by these dark entities, were unable to move on and sought substitute spirits to take their place. This negative influence may be potent enough to extend beyond the reservoir itself, affecting the surrounding areas and amplifying murderous thoughts, potentially leading to incidents such as the murder we investigated. Furthermore, even the murdered couple could have become trapped if they died within the area influenced by these negative entities. Could it be that when we conducted our investigation at Bedok Reservoir, these entities taunted us by manifesting in the picture we took of the Taoist master, just as they taunted the blessing ceremony in 2011 by revealing the sixth body on the very day religious leaders had gathered at the site? I would love to hear your thoughts on this matter, especially if you reside in Singapore and have anything to add to the discussion.